Greetings again, comrades. It's the same day as the previous video, both in the game and in the real world. I was just feeling in the mood to do another video today, so here we are. Also, I want to show you something, but before I do that, I think we can just skip ahead to the next day in the game. At least we can't do everything on day one, so we'll skip to the next morning. And I think I will also just skip ahead a little bit further than that, so it's also daytime in the desert. Hopefully. Anyway, maybe a bit too much there, but at least we've moved a little bit ahead in time. Now, let's go out of KSP so I can show you something that I was thinking about. Right, comrades, here we are in the basic paint in Windows, nothing fancy, of course. We don't need luxuries necessarily. Anyway, here we can see various goals from, this is Buzz Aldrin Space Program Manager, and I would certainly recommend that you check that game out if you have not already. I have done a playthrough of that on my channel before. That was in fact the very first game that I played on my channel. But so yes, I'll still do the Soviet campaign one day. But I thought about this because we are doing the very early kind of missions now in our career. And in Buzz Aldrin Space Program Manager, of course, that mirrors the real world more accurately, I suppose, more exactly. Anyway, and in the game they have various goals for you to achieve, of course, before your opponent, the Soviets or the USA. And I just went into the game. I still actually have the save from the game that I played on my channel a couple of years ago already. And I just opened up various programs and took screenshots of them. And then, of course, I did it the long way. I opened each of those files up and then just cut the image out and pasted it all into this particular file that we see here. Now, this is not all of them. This is only the most relevant ones for us right now in our evolution. So we can see here is, of course, the very first goal that you get, the Earth orbiting satellite. Of course, all of this will apply to Kerbal. So, Kerbal orbiting satellite. Now we can actually mark the things that we've done here already. I'll take a nice green and a nice thick line there. So we've achieved the actual Earth orbiting research satellite category because we've done radio signals emission from low Kerbal orbit, so check that. We have also done our version of the Explorer satellite or the Sputnik satellite, which is of course the Proximo, so we have achieved that goal. We have also done a study of Kerbal's magnetic field. I guess we could argue we don't necessarily have all of the scientific instruments unlocked, so doing this might not be, again, the most accurate, but we don't have stuff like magnetometers and all that anyway. And it was an early goal in the real world, so obviously it would also be an early goal for us. For me, really, this is just signifying going into high orbit, so you start to learn a bit about the magnetic field and the fact that it exists. So we check that one. We've also done the biosatellite, or the Sputnik Kerbal, is the Soviet equivalent, which is of course the study of microgravity on small living organisms. We did that as well. Now, we have not done an orbiting frog otolith. Of course, we don't have frogs on Kerbal necessarily. Maybe we do. So we'll do this today, I think. This is a follow-up of the biosat study. Then we also can still do a Pegasus satellite equivalent, which was a study of micrometeoroids' impact frequency in low Earth orbit or low Kerbal orbit, so that we can again learn about how safe it is. Of course, this was way before space debris became an issue, so I guess now it's the study of space debris impact frequency. Anyway. Then, of course, also you get man or Kerbal in space, and this is, of course, for Mercury. In our case, it's Gladius. The first one is an uncrewed suborbital flight test. We did not do that one, and there's no need to do that at this point. It's also kind of like Buzz Aldrin Space Program Manager again, because you can skip certain missions if you don't want to and if you are running behind your opponent. and of course you don't take too much of a penalty, so we'll scratch that one out. The suborbital flight we have done. This is a crewed flight, so we did that one, and also that's when we got into space. Now I think this is obviously then man in space or Kerbal in space, so we can tick this one off. Of course that's separate from orbit itself, so we have not done this yet with the crew. So yes, then of course it's Project Gladius in our case. It will be the orbital flight. We can also do an uncrewed orbital flight test first, which we might do just for the interest sake of it. Then there's a joint manned launch in which you have the goal of getting about 5 kilometers from another craft, so you launch two at the same time, but we'll not do this yet. And then also the extended duration. There's 6 of these extended duration levels in Buzz Aldrin Space Program Manager. The first level is for, well, obviously you get your very first orbit, which is then less than 6 hours. So that's why I wrote down there, less than 6. Then you get extended duration level 1, which is 6 to 36 hours. So let's say roughly a day. Then your level 2 is 36 hours to 7 days, and then it goes on from there, but we don't need to know the rest yet. We're not going to do the long duration yet. And then of course the rendezvous between two crewed spacecraft, 5 to 10 kilometers. So we'll say in our case less than 2.5, because that's when the physics kicks in. So anyway, then we also have a space plane. In, of course, the US, it was the X-15, the flight test, and also the hypersonic research at the edge of space. We've done a sort of equivalent to this with our first Gladius that put a Kerbal in space, because that was anyway hypersonic research at the edge of space in a way. So, but we're not going to tick this yet. This is specifically for a space plane. And the Soviets get the PKA space plane, which they can also use to do all the things that the Vostok could also do. So anyway, we'll do this at some point in the game. Then of course you get your lunar probe category, so these 3 all fall under that one right there. And the first one is a lunar flyby. We might do that today, I'm not sure. Lunar probe, of course, is the category again. Pioneer 4, we'll see what our name will be. Just a flyby to map the surface of the moon, level 1. We'll have to do this twice, one for moon and one for Minmus, of course. Then you get the lunar impactor, which was of course Ranger 3 there. And that gives you study of the structure of the moon, level 1, and study of the lunar soil, level 1, plus close-up pictures of the moon, level 1. So we'll do that at some point too. Then of course you get the orbiter as well, but you also get the Soviets, at least in Buzz Aldrin's Space Program Manager, they get the Zond 5 Lunar Bioscience flyby. So I definitely want to do this as a follow-up to our Biosat in terms of sending that same Science Junior with living specimens around the moon. Again, just a flyby. So yes, I thought this was interesting because we can kind of sort of track our progress here, not really fully accurately, but anyway, it's something fun to do. So let's get back in the game. Righto, comrades, here we are again. Let's see what contracts we have. I just want to remind myself, we still have the tourist contracts and explore the moon. So we might do this actually. In Buzz Aldrin, you also do the same kind of thing. After your initial satellites, the flyby of the moon is usually your next goal. So flyby of the moon and then return from a flyby. So we'll do this separately. First, just a normal flyby, then we'll do the bioscience flyby. So let's try that. So yes, now, how shall we do this? Let's see, what parts do we have? Do we have any more science? I think we used all of it last time. I know we can see this kind of thing here, can't we? Anyway, let's just delete this message. Explore Kerbal. We did a safe return from orbit, of course. You can stop kissing the ground now. Explore Kerbal was complete and we returned. So that was, of course, another world's first. I just want to go out again. I think we used all of the science. Yes, 33 is all we have left, just to make doubly sure. Anyway, just going to bring the volume down a little bit for myself here. Now for this it will obviously have to be an uncrewed thing. Now I'm just wondering, maybe we'll do the otolith first instead of a lunar flyby, just because I would like a probe core that can be controlled. So we'll just put this here again and do a bioscience test. Now for this kind of thing, what would I use? I could do the easy thing and just take another science junior, but I want to just do something like a mystery goo. So this is not really going to fill any contract or truly any scientific kind of feedback. We'll get some data from this, but very little. I just want to see, can we make a nice kind of design? Maybe it's too early for that. I know we did unlock some things. Yeah, maybe we could just use that. At least that snaps nicely. Then we'll pretend that this is the frog or amphibian habitat, more or less in the middle. And I'll close that. We can just add some batteries to that. Because at the end of the day, yes, we do get our contracts and so on, but we can also pursue our own personal goals in our career. Right, so we do that. Then we do need antennas, not again necessarily, but purely for the aesthetics. Not sure if we can, no, we don't use a high gain, only that's for relay, so we'll not do that now. Let's use the kind of layout that we used before from Sputnik again, just the 4 kind of downward facing antennas. Still no action groups, that's fine. Just move it in a little like that, and then let's see, what else could we do? We could go wider as well with the rocket. Anyway, again, I didn't save a lot of those sub-assemblies from last time because those were more general kind of experiments. We're not really going to reuse them. Now in this case, let's just make absolutely sure this does have most of its mass to the bottom. Now of course we have the same problem again. Take this away. We might just get around that. We'll see. Of where do we get an attachment point? Yay, we can. We just snap it to the bottom of that, and then I will rotate it and move it up, so at least we don't need to put more struts and things. If it doesn't want to go beyond a certain point, you just hold shift. I think most people know that. Then we close this again with our hapless frog inhabitant. Now if we have a look at this payload, it does have a temperature maximum of 2900 Kelvin, which is quite good. I think it will survive, so we're not going to put extra heat shields on that. Although it's good practice, let's rather do it, just again to reinforce the center of mass moving to the bottom. And this I don't like where it clips through. There we go. Right, so this is going to require, of course, its upper stage. Now, first step always is a decoupler, which you can put there and get this kind of thick ring around it, or just like that. Of course, that exposes the heat shield, but it still looks better. That's where restock is nice, because you can put it there, but it will have a nice flush fairing. But that's fine. So now we need an upper stage. I think we did unlock, yes, the Terrier, so that will be absolutely perfect for this, and this is also then our first attempt at testing the Terrier engine. I can also throw a reaction wheel on here. It is probably going to be the best idea. Now I've used that point though, I'll use this one and just move it so it doesn't clip. There we go. Right, next step. Let's see, this gives us in a vacuum 1.8 kilometers. That should be fine for an upper stage. No fairings yet, of course. So put on another decoupler. I also just want to see that we can get the old Terrier engine again. So obviously it doesn't show it here, but if you go to enhanced mode or advanced mode, and you then go to really any of these things, but filter by tech level is probably the easiest. Tier 1 shows you, of course, the old stuff. Tier 2 shows you more old stuff. Tier 3, Tier 4, there's the old Terrier, so you can still use that if you prefer. The same with the Poodle and so on. Right, next step, the main part of the rocket, and this is a bug sometimes. If you come out of those advanced modes, you can't click on stuff. You just have to open that and close it again. Experience will teach you. Right, just make it a normal white paint job here, and then another. Let's just see, what engines do we have? Basically the same kind of thing. We still, of course, have the part limit. We can take more though, thrust to weight, and at least this saves us the parts now because we're using larger tanks. 161, perfectly good, and then we can also use advanced winglets, same problem again. So for this, the cheapest one is the Delta Deluxe. Actually, Deluxe would make it seem like it's the expensive one, but there we are. And with those, I kind of like moving them to the south, to the bottom anyway. But let me just check something. No, we don't have those structural elements yet. I could cover up part of the engine. These are still the old models, of course. I'm sure they will update this at some point. And I did see on the Reddit they are working on a new update that will actually replace the textures on the moon, which I'm so happy about because that's where I used one of the mods previously. I'm not doing it now because it creates a slowdown. The stock texture overall or enhancement or whatever it's called. But there's no need then because they're doing that for an actual update. So yay. We can move this down even more. I want it like one of those old V2 kind of style rockets. I know the exhaust of the turbo pump is now burning right into this, but of course that's not a thing in this game. So yes, we'll leave it like this. Maybe this will become our new, although that will bother me now, so let's change this, but maybe this will become our new sub-assembly. There. Right, so this is not a closed cycle engine, of course. Alright, this should do, hopefully. Well, we'll see. Let's just see if I can double check. So 1.9 and then 1.8. Total here is 4.3. Might need a bit of a boost. I think let's try it without that. Of course, the problem here is we don't have a nice fairing, so it still has this kind of flat surface. Anything else that we need on this? Nah. Famous last words, right? Anyway, this will now be, let's just open up our saves. Don't save. The last one was Proximo 5. That's why it's good to save everything. I want to save them all here. So cancel that. This will be Proximo 6. Of course, we could call it something like the orbiting frog otolith, but we don't know if it is a frog. We'll launch from the desert again. Go! Right, we're here. Also, I want to say I actually went back to Jewel Beat because that's where I got the theme song in 2014 already. Long before I started my channel, so it's kind of prophetic. They don't exist anymore, it seems. But anyway, I do have the license to use that sound track, that intro song. So, anyway, let's just go. This should be a very nice launch because of those big fins. I'll just, oh, obviously I want to say I'm just going to turn off the SAS, but of course there's no point, it is off anyway. Righto, so let's see where we end up. Maybe we're turning a little too fast. Of course, the problem with the fins is that it's very difficult to fight them in the low atmosphere. Like that. That's fine. So yes, we'll just do this for no real purpose other than to get another one of our badges. I like that. We have to get them all, you know? Get those badges. Passing through max Q here. And I think I'll throttle back, just because if I don't, we'll get heating effects in the 20 range again. So I just want to be mindful of that. I can also start pushing it a little bit more. Good enough for government work, as they say. Anyway, I try to stay under about 900 meters per second until we pass 30, just as a rough guide to avoid the heating. And I think we will make it, I hope. Yes, we'll definitely maybe make it. So much for a vote of confidence. And I'll just burn it till it's out. And detach. And we'll just coast to our apoapse. At least I can move the thing now. Right, I think, should we? Yes, it's over 50, so we can safely extend everything. It's tough when it's moving. I will just wait. Or not. And there. So it's done at least. So we'll see when we get to our apoapse what our speed is, and then of course plus 1800, but I think it will be fine. So if it drops less than 400 it wouldn't be enough, but it is more than enough. So now we just go all the way up till about right here, and then ignite. Caps lock for fine control. So yes, we're not bothered about being too precise for this. And you can also kind of see it like we're testing whether we can reliably re-enter from orbit. So it's worthwhile doing this again. I'm just gonna have some water. I'm starting to get voice issues here. Right, we're in orbit. And we still have nearly 700 meters per second left. So I think, yes, let's do the experiments on the poor whatever we have placed inside the goo canister. It will give us another 2.3 science. Something, right? Close. Just also reinforcing our skill at orbit and orbital entry and return. Of course we have to be mindful of the batteries. But we'll just go around. Then I wonder if we'll be able to re-enter near the main space center. We'll try. Let's just leave it, make it every 30 seconds for the sounds. Right, now we're anyway on an inclined orbit, so we'll just go around again. I want to land in the daytime wherever possible and not over a populated area if possible, but that's not going to be reliably the case. because we don't know where the populated areas are anyway. And I just imagine that the desert is obviously the safest. But as long as we don't dump our rocket stages on other terrain. But if we come down on a parachute, that's fine. At least we'll only crush one person's house like that. Right, re-enter. Yes, I don't think we get the Trajectories mod working yet because we don't have an upgraded tracking station. So we'll just drop down to there, dump that thing, and bring back these antennae. Was hardly worth it, but anyway, was not worth it at all actually. If we don't do this, they'll be destroyed, and we'll get less money back. Right. Fast forward. Okay, it's at least close to the retrograde. And I can move it, of course, now. Very gently, that'll do. So I think this one will be much better. So there again, we reinforce our practice of re-entering and all of that before we even try to do that with the Kerbal. Fast forward. Yes, I call this the Great Bendy Peninsula because it's a Great Bendy Peninsula. And that's Kraken Crater right there, so that makes this the Kraken Sea. Why are we getting a voice? Anyway, the controller is yelling at me for time warping. So yes, that's the Kraken Sea, and what else? That would be the Skeleton Coast right there. That's one of the, it's like in Namibia where there's also this kind of desert along the coast, so it's the Skeleton Coast. Then where's other features? Not sure, but anyway, those are some of the features that I imagine anyway. Re-entering. Ablator is barely being used, but of course it's mostly there for the weight on the bottom. It's just time warp at maximum, and we got the other stage was destroyed on re-entry, of course. Deploy that thing, and I don't even have to slow down for that. Just close that and close that, and I don't have to do anything more. There we go, out of time warp and just back into time warp. And a successful mission with the poor frog-ish, frog equivalent. But at least we bring him or it back safely, unlike the orbiting frog otolith in Buzz Aldrin. But I'm wondering, it was probably the same in real life, that they did not bring it back. Now that's the kind of thing I don't like about the whole space history, is the experimentation on animals. Especially with like the otolith and things where they were really testing the inner ear of the frogs, and it just gets a bit grisly, but anyway. So yes, if you were truly brave, you test it on yourself, but anyway. We'll recover that. One day maybe we can go and recover the Proximo 4 that's still in orbit. Next, and we got 1,300 back. I just want to make sure we saved this one. No, we did not, so I was right. Save. Okay, so I'm going to leave here again. Just look back at our screen. So now we can mark off the frog otolith and the study of microgravity on amphibians, which would be especially apt if the Kerbals are amphibians, but anyway, The Pegasus thing, we can probably wait for the longer duration missions to do that. So right now I think we'll try, maybe we'll try a crewed launch. Not yet a flyby. The flybys are troublesome if you don't have the ability to use the SAS. So yes, we'll do Project Gladius, the orbital flight, maybe an uncrewed orbital flight test. It's an unnecessary kind of slowdown of the campaign, I know, but it's an added element, so we'll say new. And also what I can do, wait, open that and save this as something else. Would this still be a Javelin? I don't think so. Javelin is a solid fueled booster. The Javelin 2A was a complete disaster, by the way. But yes, so what do we call this kind of rocket? Let's see. I'm looking at my list. Don't want to make it something too epic because we will use that later. Enigma, Prism, Radiance, Relic, Discovery, we know, Typhoon, Calypso. It is hard to choose even if you have the list in front of you. Horizon. Proximo, we obviously use already. Alright, I'll call this the Spire. Spire 1A. Save. Right, at least we have a name there. No description yet, but anyway. New. So we can reuse the Spire as a booster. I probably should have put the upper stage on there as well. Maybe I should do that. Adventures in sub-assemblies with Admiral Andre. Right, Alt and override. Alright, it's easy enough to do. Open, no, new. Right, so for this we'll go back to our Gladius capsule, and of course I could use the others, the Onion and the P. We'll get new program names for those. But we'll stick to this for now, and I just want to see, is there any kind of nice structural elements I can put on? I mean, I could put that on, but is that really necessary? But it's the only thing that fits here right now that makes it kind of look like a Mercury. So I guess we'll use that. And more reaction wheels won't necessarily hurt. No, I don't like that. Let's go back to standard. So for this we will just see. Yes, leave it on the dark one now, because it's supposed to be orbital, but this is supposed to be the orbital test. And of course then a return from orbit as well. Now this is complicating issues. Well, since we're not going to put someone inside the capsule, in this case actually I need to redo the whole thing. I could have just rerouted it, but we start with the Stay Putnik, then we use this, and then I'm not going to bother with other parts there. Will that work in theory? Yes. It's okay, it's not totally elegant, but it's pretty much the best I can do with this current setup. It's a control panel right there, we'll say, but nobody's going to be sitting in there, so it can be all machinery. Then we will use the heat shield, of course, which I will have to move a little. Perfect. Right, and then of course the problem. I need the small struts. That's such overkill. I need to know if there's another kind of attachment point No. Right, back to the drawing board. I guess in this case we'll just put a different kind of parachute on. That looks ugly. No, I don't want to do that. Maybe we should just go straight into a crewed orbital mission. Alright, let's do that. New, don't save. Just because it's too much of a trouble to go through this whole effort. Then we'll just go back to the... Kerbals are brave, we know that, right? So they don't mind trying an orbital test before an uncrewed test, or crew test before an uncrewed one. So heat shield, and we've also done lots of tests now with living organisms, so we know we can more or less bring them back safely. Right, see, that looks much better. This will obviously be Valentina because Jeb has had his time. We'll worry about the tourists later. They're busy doing basic training right now. Then what more do I need here? We're not going to worry about science for this one. We've done all of this in low orbit anyway. This will just be strictly low orbit, not high orbit. Now again, I would like to make a nice little Mercury style re-entry pack, but we'll just have to do it the Kerbal way, which is also great. Then, is that enough? Probably more than enough. Actually, why bother with this? Isn't this why we do the sub-assembly thing? So the spire will also be used. I'm not sure if it is capable. Let's see if it is capable. Right, so we have this one here, then that one, which is not giving a readout for some reason. No ISP, no thrust, no nothing. Explain yourself. There it is. There it's not. Well, comrades, we'll discover together whether this works. Now, if we think back, the uncrewed one, the Otolith, how much did that weigh approximately? So 5 kilos plus 100, so 105. And what? Yes, you see, it's much lighter than this, but we still had fuel left. We're gonna try it anyway. So this will be Gladius 2. Save that. And good luck, Valentina. I cannot promise any results here. Right, she was saying something there, I'm not sure what. Asking for advice, I guess, just before launch. This is her first mission and our first attempt to make orbit with a Kerbal. Now we see the readouts as well. Well, we'll see. Anyway, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Locks SAS after we take off. Anyway. Right, so there we go. Of course, control will now be so much easier. I'm just gonna turn it off again. Let the fins do the work there. And she is at least going to be the second Kerbal in space if she doesn't make orbit. Also the second launch of the Spire. If you are ever looking for inspiration for names for your spacecraft, there is a website. If you just search on Google, I'm just going to slow down a little, save some fuel here. There's this website called, well, you just search for spaceship name generator or space station name generator Something like that. You can use both, I guess. They have many different kinds of names that they cater for. And then, well, you just get things. Gladius was one of them, I think, and I also got a few other names from there, so it's a nice place to get some inspiration from. Okay, how are we doing here? 42. I think I'm gonna slow down just because I want to be as efficient as possible. We have to turn a little bit more than this. I can do this, but again we move away from prograde. Not good if you want to save fuel. So will we make it, yes or no? I think we will. Barely, maybe. 1.3 plus 1. Of course it's still going to slow down towards apoaps. I think we'll make it. We'll see. Place your bets. Separate, and we just coast now to a very low apoaps of 70.9 kilometers. And then we'll burn from there. Well, Valentina's extremely excited and happy, of course, as anyone would be. Right, we're getting close now. Of course, you can also judge it not just by the needle there. You can see when prograde gets to the horizon. We still have now, you see, 1.3 plus 1. It's going to be close, but it will work, I think. Burn. Gives her a 2G acceleration, and now we've passed apoaps, so now I have to burn a little above it. That's a bit wasteful. Luckily this is a very efficient vacuum engine. And we're back in the atmosphere. I have to burn more aggressively up to pull the prograde back up as well. And yikes, okay, just stop right there. Whew, gonna be close. Okay, now it's at 76 towards the apoaps. I'm not gonna burn anymore. We'll just wait till we're out of the atmosphere. It's enough, barely. This is like the bare minimum, and that is, we'll still drop a little as well now. Hey, anyway, and I think this is how it should be for your first orbital rocket. In a way, that's what the Atlas was also like. I've read somewhere that really the Atlas was just held up basically by its own internal pressure, because it basically had no structural, solidity to it. It had to be so absolutely stripped down in order to make orbit, even with a 1.5-stage configuration. Right, we're now breaking even. We're still at over 70 on that side, so now we'll go back up. And this doesn't quite count yet, but anyway. We can turn the light on. I think maybe it's a little too dark for the recording, so I'll go to settings. And good grief, where is this? There, ambient light boost. Let's say 17. Much better for recording purposes. We can still see it's night, but now you can actually see what is happening on your screen. Right, keep going, come on. We keep losing altitude on our apoaps now the whole time, but as long as it's above 70, once we get there, we'll lift the periaps as well. And then we will keep Valentina in orbit until, now I just have to think, well, less than 6 hours. That was the first level obviously that we're going not the duration level 1, which is above 6 hours. So we'll bring her back in a few hours. That's basically a Kerbal day. Well, in our case, I'll just go with the hours, not the sort of Kerbal equivalent. Almost. And bring down, and now we can just accelerate 50 times. Certainly much better. First sunrise. And get ready. Close enough. Turn around. Right, that's it. No more necessary than that. Very low orbit for Valentina here. I'll just rotate her. I also still like to put the camera free when you're in low orbit, just because again your frame of reference is still Kerbal. So then I'll just rotate her so that she can actually see something here. And we'll have a look. There we go. Makes the trip worthwhile. Of course, we double click there to see more detail. You can imagine she's now floating around in the capsule. So she presses her face up against the glass. Oh, I want to see. So yes. Man, I would love to go to space. Comrades, can't we start our own space company? I mean, Elon was from South Africa. I am from South Africa. Maybe that's a sign. So yes, give me all your money. I promise to use it for a space program. Oh, good grief. Yes, well, I still would love to do it for real, though. Go to space, not necessarily take your money. What's the Ferengi rule again? I don't know which one it is, but once you have people's money, you never give it back. I think there's too many people in the world who really believe that. So yes, let's serenely spin around, as long as it's less than 6 hours. What is that? Some small island. Of course, this is the one drawback of the stock graphics. When you're in very low orbit, we have these very jagged coastlines and flashing things. Bugs, of course, but when you're at about 125 kilometers, that goes away and it looks nice and smooth. But oh well. So Valentina's now giving us her feedback. We might as well do that. Crew report. Didn't we do this before? Oh, we couldn't do it before because Jeb he had a crew report from the upper atmosphere and he couldn't obviously get out to get a new one or to take the data and put it back. So this is a worthwhile mission. Yay! It seems we're very much in space right now. The sky seems to be mostly below us. So yes, it's a great thing to have done. Let's look at Valentina. Interior overlay. There she is. A happy camper, I hope. Looking at her instruments. There she is. Such a small little capsule, but still nice. Air, not food, food, parts, more science, board games, that's always useful. Snacks, science, tools, laundry and toothbrushes. I do love that. And I think also if we have a look around, or is it not with this one? Oh yes, you can see like, it's difficult to make it out, but there are these little oxygen tanks right here inside the capsule. You'll see it with the Mark III also, the 3-person capsule. Anyway, time for her to just keep accelerating. Comrades, I'll get back to you once Valentina has spun around for a few hours. Right, we're back again, comrades. It's been 3.5 hours. I think Valentina can go home now. Also, it's now daytime again in the desert. Sunrise is just happening there. So it would actually be a very scenic return if we aim for that. So let's try that. Of course I can't make maneuver nodes and stuff like that. It's fine. We'll guess more or less. Now of course she's not on a perfect inclination, but as long as she gets back in the desert, we can be a bit more aggressive than that. Let's go a bit further. Alright, right here. Retrograde, let's see if she has enough. So 142 meters of course is more than enough. Then burn. And stop, because the planet will also rotate underneath while we are coming back. And 24 meters per second left. That's not bad at all. That's a perfect rocket. I planned the whole thing exactly like that. I can pretend, right? Okay, fast forward and turn that off. Oops. It'll stabilize. So of course this little light here is showing that our vertical speed is now very much into the negative, so we should pay attention to that, but of course that's what we want. And I can speed up with her precious crew report. That was the whole point of this mission, for someone to actually go into orbit, and we successfully tested our Gladius capsule for orbital operations, and now we'll keep using the Spire rocket. Again, it's not, as I always say now, the most elegant thing, but it's what we can do right now, so I'm perfectly happy with that. And we're going over the Great Kraken Crater, Kraken Island. And one of our tracking stations is right here, I think. We can slow down and look at it from Valentina's point of view. Of course, hey, there's the moon. It gives us a reminder of our long-term goals. Yes, that map doesn't work. The software has bugged out. Anyway, that's an explanation for that. See, they also give her the lights now. It's a nice feature. Much nicer capsule than the old model. Right, keep accelerating. We should land at the edge of the desert then. This is of course the Great Plains of Kerbal right here. Yes, close enough to the desert. Get ready to deploy and do it about now. And now, just no stress. Just wait till it drops us out of time warp. Voila, right, so we also see some of the flora in this region. And back to 4 times. Oh, well, it fell in the desert as well. It's fine, our upper stage. So we'll just send a vehicle to pick her up in the capsule and bring her back to our desert base, and then we can plan for the next mission. Are we still moving? No, we're not. I think when it crashed it took us out of time warp. There we go. Bang. Now, while she's here, let's just see if we can do anything else. EVA. EVA report? No, it's the desert, one giant biome. Just take the data, get back in, give us a new crew report. No, we've already done this, so let's recover. And there we go, 5 science. Hey, it's not nothing, right? And it was a great achievement. So money is not really relevant, it's so little. Let's just go and see, can we do anything with this? Not quite yet. And of course, let me just do as I always do, save after every video. Let's go back to the patches. Right, so let's see what can we mark off now. We have now done Kerbal in orbit, so we have an orbital flight, and that was not yet duration level 1. And we did not do the uncrewed test flight. Who needs a test flight? And so yes, I'll just put a little tick mark there because we've partially done this. We haven't done the rendezvous and extended things like that. So I'll save this. Alright comrades, I'll see you next time again. Have a fantastic day and weekend, and may your KSP adventures take you to happy places.